Meet Anoop and Akshaya.
I went abroad in 2010 as a student.
They talk about their life in US for 15 years.
Spouses are working, which was in our case, then it becomes even more constrained. So more freedom here in India, given the visa constraints there in the US.
There's no scope for green card in next 15, 20 years, and that is a longer time. And it's just like adds on to your day-to-day.
How much you can tolerate this uncertainty.
And the reasons they decided to move back to India.
It is not one thing that forces you, but it's all a combination of all of this.
They also talk about how they selected the school for the kids.
So we did our research, but finally we ended up in a CBSE school. When the reason that is the deal breaker criteria.
And how they plan their career.
I took to freelancing for a couple of reasons. I have more opportunities here, given the lack of visa constraints. I have more freedom here. I can take some time off and so on and so forth.
You wouldn't have the work-life balance is what the point that always reinforced, but that is not the case.
And finally, they talk about their life in India. Great pan out, so yeah.
The biggest apprehension was
India is not US. You have to be a Roman. So this is what India has to offer right now. It is growing.
Thank you very much for joining us today. So let's start a bit about your background and what made you to go abroad.
I went abroad in 2010 as a student, and basically I did not do much of a research. I mean, it is basically what a lot of my students in my generation did. There was a sense that going abroad, the education is better, and there is a good chance that I can get a job in my core engineering area, which was electrical engineering back then, as opposed to jumping into IT. And also the sense that I mean, there is the life out there is better and all of that. So that is what pushed me to go abroad. And since then, it's been a good journey. I'm pretty sure we'll get into that as time goes on. But let Akshay answer her story.
Mine is probably very straightforward. I got married and I had to go, no other choice. So I just moved post-marriage. Very straightforward there.
Got it. Thank you for that. So how was life in US? I think, maybe Anoop, you can start and Akshaya can,
Yeah.
Sure. So, I mean, life in the US, overall was pretty good. I mean, we can see it in different stages. There is an initial student phase where you go, where you're kind of stripped for money, and you try to make ends meet somehow while juggling coursework and job search. Then you enter the work phase where you start earning decent money and you're happy, and you have all the freedom, which continues through marriage. And then the last phase is when you have kids, starting with one, and in our case we have two, where it again starts becoming a bit tougher and constrained and whatnot. And if both of us are working, both spouses are working, which was in our case, then it becomes even more constrained. So overall, it was good, but it does get tougher as time goes on and on.
Yeah. Same. Actually, I also agree with him. For me, also the experience has been combination of highs and lows. There are moments where it is really high, and then there is moments where you feel like, what am I doing here? So same, when in the initial phase, when everything is new, you're abroad, it's exciting. So that is a very nice phase. And then you travel, it gives you a lot of opportunities to travel. And then you face the reality, right? After that, you have to do something with your life. You have to do masters, find a job, and then your kids also join you along the way. So then it becomes a little bit of, combination of hectic and good moments. So overall, it was all right. It's a very nice experience. It's given us an exposure that we might have not had if we were here. Yeah, overall it was a good experience.
Fantastic. So, Anoop, just to confirm, I think, one of the reason you went to US was to work in the core engineering. So I know we didn't touch on the professional side, just wanted to confirm. So you did end up working in the core engineering. Is that right? Yeah, maybe you can talk about.
Initially, at least initially, and also sporadically since then. But this is also the other point I wanted to make. I mean, I somehow feel, at least mid-career, there is more freedom here in India, given the visa constraints there in the US. If you don't start off the right foot, it becomes very hard to pivot and kind of get back into the right track, given all of the visa constraints. Plus, we were in San Diego, where there were a lot of opportunities as well. So if we had to move, we had to move to, let's say, a Bay Area or one of these big East Coast cities, which becomes difficult as life goes on. So yes, you're right that I got quality education in my core area, and I also briefly got to work in that area. But eventually, I had to pivot, which in hindsight I should have, started with. So I'm basically now on the software side, and that is what I should have started off with, I feel. So all in all, I would say mixed reviews when it comes to career. I'm certainly thankful, and I don't think I could have had a better start to my career. But at this stage, 10, 12 years into my career, I and we both feel that there is a better chance of making it better here in India.
Got it. And Akshaya, like you are into IT, just to confirm on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I am into analytics, product analytics. So I also did my master's in the same domain, and then I also did my job, continued my profession also in the same domain.
Makes sense. So I think you kind of explained the highs and lows, right? The different phases of life and the experience. I think people can correlate to that experience in US. What made you to think about going to India? Has it been there for some time, or is it like when you have the lows, that's when the thought occurs, and then it kind of fades away? Like maybe you can give a background about like when this idea has started or why, and what happened there.
That's the $1 million question, right? So um, we uh, we never had well. So to begin with, we were very ambivalent about returning. We were okay either way, and that's how a lot of people are, And this has been my stance since 3 years into my stay in the US, I guess, or maybe four. Initial 3 or 4 years, you don't want to return. You want to hold on. I wanted to hold on to it desperately. Having spent money and having seen life there and all of that. Then we come to a phase where we are ambivalent. We are okay either way. And then around the time my son was born, he's 6 right now, but around 5, 6 years back is when we realized that, well, there are many triggers. One of them is as kids grow older, it is harder for them to adjust. I mean, we hear stories both ways, but we don't want to put that stress on him. So that is one very solid trigger. The other is aging parents. The other is, like I said, I feel I have a better chance of, I have more opportunities here, given the lack of visa constraints. I have more freedom here. I can take some time off and so on and so forth. Um, this is before we have even gotten into the visa issues, right? Which were sporadic, but still enough to kind of stress you out, And then you suddenly wake up one day and realize, oh my gosh, I don't see this improving. This is, I'm maybe 30 now or 35 now, and I see life, these issues lingering for the next foreseeable future, perhaps even until I turn 50, and then I don't want to look back and say, oh my gosh, I've been under this visa stress, I wanted to maybe do a startup, I'm not able to do it. So all of these things put together, I mean, I guess that's how it is, right? It is not one thing that forces you, but it's all a combination of all of this. So we started planning back then, and since then we wanted to take it slow. We wanted to be really sure. We wanted to have the groundwork done before we actually pull the trigger and get back.
So for me also, it's multiple small things. Like, healthcare was all tiny, tiny things. But the major push was always there for me. ever since I went there, I could never, for some reason, could never see myself settling down there for a longer run. I don't know what it was. And then it got more and more reinforced with COVID. And with kids, having two kids, and also the stress of tied to a visa, and the pressure of holding on to it if you had to stay there, because there was no scope for Vinca in the next 15, 20 years, and that is a longer time. And it's just like adds on to your day-to-day pressure. You'll have to hold on to your work dearly, and thinking about investments. Do you invest there, settle down there? So that pressure was, I don't think it was worth it for us. And so that was actually a major push. So then it got reinforced that we had to move. We're probably not gonna, this pressure is not gonna work for us. Then when do we move? We have kids. So the sooner the better. When kids are in picture, the sooner the better, because this is a whole different world and whole different universe for them. So, if I bring him when he's 10, he's probably not going to like this experience, or, he's going to have his own friend circle. We'll have to, it's very immoral, or, very not fair for him. So then the timeline came into picture. So that is when we thought this is the time. We probably have to move before he starts first grade.
Okay.
So he came and he started his first grade here, actually.
Makes sense. I think all the points that you have mentioned, I think again, the key thing is it's not one main driving factor, it's cumulative of all these different factors. I think I understand about all these aspects. One thing I wanted to dive in a little bit, if you're okay, is the healthcare. I think you kind of subtly touch about the healthcare, because some people think healthcare is better in US because it's advanced, it's all the other stuff. Some people think, accessibility is much easier in India. I know you kind of mentioned healthcare is one of the reason, maybe the trigger point in a minor way. Anything that you want to expand on that, maybe from your experience of healthcare in US?
There are two reasons broadly why you might require healthcare, right? One is if you have a major illness, major acute illness, like somebody got forward has a cancer or something, versus your everyday illness. Maybe you had something and you have a grumbling tummy, or maybe your son broke his foot or anything of that sort. It's for most people, I would assume it is a second category which predominates, and that part is really hard in the US. If I can't predict when my son will break his foot, but they're not going to give me an appointment the same day pretty easily. There are occasions where we've waited like 6 hours
in the ER
to
to just get an okay.
Have someone look at his broken foot, or a flu, or a cold, or something of that sort. We never had any major issues. Maybe childbirth and pregnancy is one major issue you could say, and there, no doubt, the care was really world class, and we really, I don't think there is anything to complain there. But for these minor issues, which is what most of us face very often, it is very difficult.
Okay, I think its bottom line is the accessibility for on a regular need of visiting a doctor.
Yes,
right.
Yeah. So
also, one more difference I feel in terms of healthcare, right? Here, doctors have the liberty to assure you, if they don't worry, I don't think this is big. But there, with multiple visits that I have, just my experience, they have the inhibitions to openly say, don't worry. They are afraid to give their quotes. So, they just, you have to take the 10 tests. It is good in a way, it is good, but sometimes that absence of reassurance puts you in a whirlwind of emotions, So that I feel here, don't worry, this is nothing. We have seen multiple cases. You will be fine. So that reassurance is very timely, and that is needed. So there we have had instances where my son was newborn, and he had a little bit of some skin issues. And as a 45 days old baby, he was admitted in hospital, and we can't say anything right now. We have to run the 10 tests. So that day or two is kind of like, oh my God, your heavens are falling, that kind of feeling. So those things, I think it's their restrictions, you can't quote openly because you will then hold the doctor accountable. So that is why so that is also one big difference. As a patient, you need that timely reassurance. So that for our attitude, I think it suits us here.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. So let's, I think, talk about, I think, the planning, right? So you kind of had this trigger based on these different factors when your son was born in 2019. And I think, you had the timeline to make the transition before he joins the first grade. So it's about 6 years. Maybe you can talk us through like how you plan the different aspects of it on a financial side, career side. Yeah, maybe we'll start with the financial side. If you can talk anything on that aspect, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, well, I mean, there wasn't much planning to be done on the financial side, but I can touch upon that as well. The biggest aspect was to decide where we want to relocate. And we kind of had a difference over there. And I was very excited about relocating to a small town. But we had a lot of discussion on that. And then ultimately, we both decided to kind of home in on the best of both worlds. We ended up in a suburb of Bangalore, which kind of has a small town feel to it. But yet, the Bangalore city is quote unquote accessible. I mean, and this is if we ever have to return back to work, get into a job and we have to go to work 5 days a week, then it is still feasible. It's not the same as relocating altogether. So that was one big decision. And why Bangalore? Of course, there is a lot of IT jobs over here, and not to speak of the weather. I mean, the weather is
Yeah, the weather,
kind of
absolutely.
unparalleled, at least right now, for
Got
the
it.
foreseeable future, I would say.
Just
So
to
that was
maybe
the
just
big.
to expand on that. So are parents also somewhere close to Bangalore, or is it more from a career perspective you choose Bangalore? Maybe if you can, yeah.
Well, both I would say. Parents are also close by, and work perspective also. So it was a happy coincidence.
Yeah.
So that's why we chose Bangalore, and so that was the biggest decision. Once we made that decision, then it was all about looking at our living arrangement. Should we purchase something or should we rent initially? And then once we decided on that, then move on to the kids' schooling, which we wanted to be close to where we lived. So he doesn't have to deal with the traffic and all of that. So, I mean, broadly speaking, the major issues were one, where do we relocate? And then where do we live? And then my kids' school. And then when it comes to work, we both decided that we'll take a temporary break. Again, for a couple reasons. I mean, one is most recruiters don't entertain you when you try to engage with them from abroad, and for good reasons. I mean, they don't. It's hard for them to set anything in motion without any certainty that you'll move back. So that is one. And second, we also, after having worked for a decade and a half, we also wanted to both take some kind of a break. I mean, we had a sense of the job market, but nothing really on that front as part of the move itself. These were the broad issues.
Got it. I know, I think you kind of mentioned, so I think you made the decision about the city. So if you can put like a timeline, I mean, if if it's okay, like I think, in the 6 years, I'm guessing the city is the major important one. And then in terms of renting versus buying, like when was the decision made, like, which suburb in Bangalore? Maybe if you can, like, the school, is it like within 1 year or like 2, 3 years beforehand? And if you can talk about it.
So actually, in that 6 years, right, the first 2 years we just spent on listing the pros and cons. What are so the first 2 years are most of the dinner table conversation, whatever would be like, what would we miss, what would we gain? Are we being? I mean, there is nothing to miss if we move back to India, but are we being unfair to the kids? Are we taking the opportunities from him? What would we deal with if we stayed here? So that was the first 2 years. And then renting versus buying was, that also we spent a pretty long time talking about. But at the end of the day, this is where we wanted to see there, we spent almost more than a decade. But because of this ambiguity, we never could settle down on a home because we were always on the verge of we're gonna move, so we're not gonna. But so finally we thought this is the time for us to probably have a proper home where kids could grow up and everything. So we had kids and we thought, okay, if this city doesn't work out, we'll then see. But let us take this bold step. Finally, we've been married for a decade. Let's have something that is an emotional actually decision for me. But he may have had something financial or something.
No, well, I mean, when it comes to the timeline, which is what you asked. So around 3-4 years back is when we
Yeah.
started zeroing in on the city and the home. City first, and then when it comes to property, I mean, we look at various locations in the city. I mean, where are new properties coming up? Where do we have some kind of a decent infrastructure? What is closer to offices? If we have to go back to work, all of that is what we decide. And then school, around a year and a half back is when we decided on the school. So school is once you decide on the home, we look for schools within a 5 kilometer radius, let's say, of that location. So kids don't have to endure a long commute. And then so these are big things, but there are a lot of other small aspects, right? I mean, like you have to sell your property in the US and your vehicle. You have to think about shipping. You got to think about when do you resign your jobs, when do you book that ticket. So the last year, I'd say, was pretty hectic. No major issues to decide on, but a lot of small things to take care of.
Understood. Cool. Anything that you can talk in terms of, I know you've been there for a long time, almost 15 years. Anything you can talk about, like your, the stocks, 401ks, anything on the bank accounts, anything that you wanted to share from a planning purpose?
Sure. I mean, I'm sure you and of your listeners might be aware of this, but there is that window where you are an RNOR in India, and we can get into what that means. And you are a non-resident alien in the US, where your stocks and mutual fund profits are not taxed. So that is something people should look upon and try to capitalize. They might have to time their move so that they have a significantly long window to pull that off. So that is one big thing. Other than that, there is nothing. I mean, people then have to also choose whether to keep their funds in the US or in India. Moving it back is, in my opinion, it's a lot of work. And I mean, there may be pros and cons over there. But for the most part, it is this RNOR overlap, which people should really look into.
Yes, got it. So let's, I think, switch gears a little bit. I think you talked about kids school. Maybe, what curriculum have you selected? How was your criteria? Because I think you kind of looked at it well ahead, right? 1.5 year is a good time. So anything that you would suggest, like how you went about selecting a school, any suggestions for parents who are in a similar boat?
Yeah. So we have a very controversial or very non-commercial take on that. So we have actually put him in a CBSE board. We've researched about other boards as well. I mean, in Bangalore, the other reason why we selected Bangalore was the opportunity for kids' education, right? You have ample IB schools, IGCSE, ICSE, and whatnot boards. You have tons of international schools. So we did our research, but finally we ended up in a CBSE school. When the reason being, the good IGCSE or IB schools depends majorly on the teacher and the philosophy of the school. So if the school that you are selecting and the teacher ends up being, very, the chalk and talk method of teacher, the philosophy of IB and IGCSE doesn't reach the kids. So then that kind of handful of schools, one thing, which actually stands up to the mark of IB or IGCSE, the fees become over the roof. It's very a huge sum of fee. You can spend it if you choose to, then you get the opportunity. But per our take, it's that at this age, we want something which we don't want to confuse him, where you have the opportunity where he could adapt to the Indian education system. And also, if we were to move back, he's able to adapt to that. So finally, we chose a CBSE school. And within CBSE, you have range of schools. You have schools which is like very high end, very schools where chefs design the nutrition menu and uniforms. And then there is normal old school method where we grew up in. We chose something in the middle where there is not very high pressure. It is a very, they call it a progressive school where they enhance play-based learning. There is not much emphasis on exams and homework in the primary grade. And then they pick up. So for us, the main criteria for school is it has to be within 2 kilometer radius of where we are planning to settle down. That is the deal breaker criteria. The second thing is where there is not pressure of that Indian schooling system. There's no, he's able to freely ask questions. And these days, the schools have adapted well to that. Many schools do that. So then we selected this one particular CBSE school which fits all our criteria. The fee was also all right, and there's not high pressure environment. Kids come from all backgrounds, and it's also very closer to where we are settling now. So he only spends like five minutes traveling to school. So
That's
that
fantastic in
is
Bangalore.
yeah. So that is a main deal breaker. He could also walk to school if he misses the bus.
Okay,
So yeah.
cool. Yeah, thanks for that. So maybe we can switch gears a little bit to the careers. I know you kind of mentioned about you intentionally took a break, and you also mentioned about, people not taking seriously if you're applying from abroad. So maybe you can talk through your journey about finding the opportunities after moving.
Yeah, so in my case, I took to freelancing for a couple reasons. One is I wanted more freedom. I didn't want to get back into a 9 to 5. I wanted more freedom to kind of reimage my career, develop new skills, and also explore a couple other income streams like content creation and whatnot. When it comes to freelancing, my like I said, my expectations were not huge. It was not like I was trying to charge astronomical rates per hour or anything of that sort. So that being the case, it was relatively easier. It was relatively easier definitely easier compared to getting a full-time job in the US, but even easier compared to getting a full-time job here in India. It was all about marketing myself for a few weeks, and then I landed an opportunity. She went for a full-time role, so maybe she can throw some light on that. And for me, compared to US, I mean, I've hunted for job in US 3 times in total. Compared to all three experiences, this has definitely been easier. Although this job market right now, even in India, is on a decline right now. That's what I've been hearing. So even compared to that, compared to US, it was easier. Uh, so yeah, I got opportunities lined up. The interviewing experiences was a little bit different from there. And then my priority was I wanted something remote. I didn't want or hybrid at max. So all the companies right now are moving back to work mode, at least hybrid. So that remote was very short. So that actually remote jobs are shrinking right now in Bangalore. So that probably took a longer time for me. But apart from that, I wouldn't complain. It was compared to what I've experienced, it was a smoother process. It took 2 months, we can say. Yes.
Yeah, a month to two to land a job that I am also satisfied with. Yeah.
Got it. So are there any tactical tips, like, which portals have you used for searching the jobs, or have you reached out to your network? Any tactical tips that you can suggest, like while you're trying to find your job in India?
Referrals definitely help. Having a first-hand referral, I think that applies anywhere, all over the world. But the second thing is, my experience in the US is if you apply online, your responses is almost zero. It goes into a black box. But it has been slightly better here. I used all the portals. I used Naukri, InstaHire, and multiple. So for my full-time job was to find a job when I was not working. So I used all of them. And there are also like here, there are multiple paid service where the portal itself will highlight your profile. So the higher you pay, your profile will be highlighted and all those things. So referrals and being active on almost all the job portals definitely increases your opportunity.
Okay, makes sense. And Anup, if you're open, I know this is not very common. I know people would love to have that kind of a flexibility with the freelancing. So you kind of mentioned about the marketing. Is it through primarily LinkedIn or your networking? Anything that you can share? Maybe someone who is considering about doing the freelancing from a flexibility side. Anything that you can share from your side?
Yeah, couple things. One is to have the right, or I could say the hot skills. So right now, data analytics and data engineering is pretty hot. Software, I believe, has always been hot. My freelancing is in the area of data science and data engineering. So that really helps. So I mean, those who are planning, if I mean, they should find what field is hot when they are planning to come, and then try to gravitate towards the one that is closest to what they are doing right now. That will solve a lot of your problems. And then it's all about aggressive marketing in all of these various platforms, right, from TopTal to Upworks, Fiverr, and all of that. And then you got to build that reputation. Initially, you may have to, offer some discounts, give some work samples, and then work your way up from there. So those are the three things I would say.
Got it. So how is life in India now? I mean, 15 years is a long time in US. Did you
Yeah.
had any apprehensions moving to India? If so,
Yeah.
how did it pan out? So yeah,
The biggest apprehension was traffic
yeah,
in Bangalore, and that is why we were conscious to not have a long commute for our son to begin with, and then eventually for ourselves as well, in terms of not going in for a choosing a remote job. That's what we did. Once that was out of the way, and when I say commute, what it essentially is the public infrastructure. That is what the issue is, especially in urban areas. That was not a surprise. We knew what to expect, and it was pretty much at par with that. Other things we hope they would be good. We kind of also felt they would be good, which has only been reinforced. I mean, when I say other things, I'm talking about we live in a gated community. So the immediate environment is pretty good. Social life is pretty good. We have services, unparalleled services. I mean, we have Blinkit, Zepto, and all of that. And we have house help, plenty of house help. Our kids have a better social life than in the US. It's easier for them to make friends over here. So those were all the cons. But again, the traffic was a big question. The infrastructure was a big question mark. Now 6 months into the move, or almost 6 months, it has not bitten us as hard, at least yet. So overall, we are very happy.
makes sense. And the kids enjoying their life, I'm assuming, like, they're enjoying the social life. So the both kids.
Yes, they do. And one more thing to add to that is the sense of belonging. The moment we stepped in, you are in your home country. The sense of belonging is something that is always not talked about. In the US, you're always here or there, neither here, neither there. But here, the accessibility to your family, meet your folks, and be in touch. You belong here, so that, and then you're not tied to any visa. Nobody's gonna kick you out from this country. Or, it's your life. You plan according. So that sense of has brought a lot of calm and peace of mind to us. That is the reason, actually, at the core, that was the reason to move back.
Got it.
That is there.
Yeah.
That has not gone anywhere. Yeah. So, yeah.
I know. I think there is one point I think so I was supposed to check. Maybe if we can go back. I think this is the career opportunities, right? I think, Anoop, you have kind of indicated because of the visa restrictions, the career growth might be a little bit more challenging in abroad than in India. So maybe anything that you can share from what you have experienced so far. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is counterintuitive, right? I mean, you have all these big companies which you feel you can work with and all of that. But visa constraint presents itself in many different forms, right? One is the number of opportunities themselves are less. There are a lot of roles out there. Let's say you want to move to some other domain, and there are smaller companies who might be open to hiring you. If not for this visa issue, now they are off the plate. So it is hard for you to break into some other role. And then of course, I mean, if there is a layoff and all of that, then your focus is on how do I stay within the country? So if you have an opportunity coming up, which may not align, but you still got to take it because you are under a time constraint. You can hold it at par for like a month or two, or maybe hold it at bay for a month or two, and try your luck with what you really want to do. But then again, it comes to individual tolerance for risk. So it's always like a musical chair. You want to move next to the chair as fast as possible. There is no really any time to explore anything else. So that is how it constrains you. But having said that, if you start in the right track and if you have the right profile, you have better chances. And it's one of those things where it's ultimately it's luck based. I mean, you could You could have a career spanning 30 years and not be affected with any visa issues,
Or
find
layoffs. Yeah.
or layoffs, find or maybe you're able to find another role before a layoff, and the one that you like at that, one after the other, or you could fall into a pit within the first 3 years itself, and then you'll have a totally different opinion. So it boils down to how much you can tolerate this uncertainty, because even if you are not affected at all, the uncertainty does take a toll on you.
Got it. And then I think on the immigration status, I'm assuming you both were on H1,
Yeah.
at the time of.
Correct.
Yes, got it. Cool. I think, is there anything that you miss, from US? It's been 15 years is a long time. You got adjusted to certain lifestyle, certain way of living. Is there anything that you miss or yeah, from US?
I would say the national parks and other natural surroundings, which are pretty accessible, which we also have plenty of that in India as well. Not to say that it's exclusive to the US. That is one. But the other bigger thing I maybe sometimes kind of miss is being able to hop into my car and go to a Starbucks without much of a hassle. Here it's not something I would do for recreation. So that's the only thing that I miss. But then again, I mean, I don't get the chai that I get here at Starbucks.
You get chai latte.
Right, right. Which is not quite the same as the ginger tea and elaichi tea that I get over here.
Yeah, for sure.
For me, it is the shopping experience. It's the shopping experience. Definitely, it's here as well. But the accessibility to brands in one store. For example, if you take Target or Costco, you have multiple brands in one place, and it's very probably if you're living in a metropolitan, very close to a Target, you could just walk there or take a car and. But here, if you'd have to go to a mall. We are living right now in a suburbs, so we don't have any malls close by. So we'll have to, it's a day event. You have to play a plan there, go to the mall, and so it's a day event. You definitely have that experience, but the freedom to just hop on and go anytime, that is
It's
what.
not as smooth.
Yeah, as smooth as. Apart from that, nothing.
Cool. Is there any topic that we haven't covered that you want to bring up?
I mean, well, maybe for students who are thinking whether they should go or not, because it's a common question that they ask, not just students, in fact, people at all stages of their career. But I think it is, there is no yes or no answer that will pop out of an algorithm. I mean, everybody has to evaluate it individually. At a high level, factors that I feel they should consider are the degree of uncertainty and risk that is involved. What is at stake? What is the amount of money at stake? And what is the plan B? If things don't go as per plan, if there is a layoff or if there is a visa change, rule change that impacts them, what is the plan B and can they live with that plan B? I know it is very abstract, but this is really where people should start from and work towards their individual situations to come up with an answer.
Got it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Any advice for future aspirants who are considering moving to India?
I would say they should. I mean, they have to take care of the big things first. Big things being, where do they want to relocate? Do they want to buy a property there or rent initially? If they have kids, what about kids schooling? And finally, their career. So these are the big things to take care of. And then if they have a home in the US, do they want to sell that? So it's fine. These are things they should take care of first, I feel. Then stuff like selling, moving, etc. Those logistical issues are best kept for the last year. There is no point spinning your wheels on them before you actually are close to that home run.
Got it.
From that's logistically, but from a mental peace point of view, is to having the expectations right. I mean, you cannot. I mean, in terms of job, be it job and the job market, and also in life in general, expect what you can expect out of India, right? I mean, India is not US. You have to be a Roman. So this is what India has to offer right now. It is growing. This is how the life will be. So it is not, it would be great if they can come visit, spend some time, probably a month or so, to get a feel of what life will be. So then you're not expecting something off the roof of India. This is how it is. The traffic is not orderly. People could cross their lines sometimes.
There is no surprises.
Yeah, it's all a known issue. Or you will be surprised, and the move back won't be a pleasant experience if you are having a different experience. Then it won't be a pleasant experience. Even in terms of job, right? If you're moving back from US, the job market, people here are also very bright minds, and everything has changed. So many people, when we were moving back, the question that the job market is the job, or the quality of job is going to be very difficult. You're not going to have this life. It's going to be very hierarchical. It is probably true in some cases, but it is evolving. There are also places on product-based companies where you have the same freedom. When people question in meetings, and things are changing. So that is one thing. Every time this had come in discussion, all our friends back home, the main point would be the job, the work-life balance. You wouldn't have the work-life balance is what the point that always reinforced. But that is not the case always. It is changing. You can pick and choose.
Yes. I think everybody has different experience, especially with these
Yes.
product-based companies. That's where you can be very selective in which companies
Yes.
you join, and it's evolving and it's definitely getting changed. Yeah.
Yes, correct.
No, thank you very much for taking the time and sharing your story with us. A lot of insights, a lot of things to take away. So really appreciate you being with us today.
And thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question for you.